So today I'm hosting a conversation with Ingrid Booth, the lead digital content producer for Investec's online publication called Focus, and Ann Muthuma, the head of marketing, corporate and institutional banking at Investec. Found out their thinking around the value of content marketing and the evolving role of content and media in the marketing function within Investec as a case in point, and of course the greater industry. So it's been a time of great uncertainty recently, with everyone trying to navigate the new normal, socially, technologically, at work, etc. Ingrid, as you're responsible for Investec's content platform, tell us more about it and how you've stepped up to providing content for Investec's prospects and clients that offers value in navigating the aftermath of COVID-19.
Sure. So Focus is Investec's content marketing platform. It's a publishing platform. And it's run by a team of in-house journalists who work with the different content producers across the group. And we publish everything from videos to podcasts and articles with interviews with our Investec experts, but also bringing in external thought leaders. When COVID struck in South Africa, sort of end of March, April, we really went into overdrive producing content. And I think it was our record month for traffic and the number of articles that were going out. Thankfully, it's calmed down a bit now. But we were seeing like massive engagement rates on the platform. People were spending up to 20 minutes looking at our webcasts. We had an average time of 9 minutes on the site. And so there was this real hunger for content. And we also noticed that people were really interested in longer form content, and they obviously had more time to sort of read the longer articles and watch the longer webcasts. But we also saw that our podcasts were doing really, really well because people had time to sort of listen to that format. So we really ramped up and kind of responded with trying to figure out or trying to help our clients navigate the crisis. We obviously didn't have all the answers ourselves, but we do have some really bright people within Investec that can talk on different topics from investing to the economy. And then also some really good experts in-house on, working from home and kind of navigating the new way of working. So we did a lot with our people and organization team on that. And we were just really able to kind of respond to what our clients were after in terms of sort of setting the landscape. So a lot of our Investec Wealth and Investment set up a webcast series where they brought in some really sort of big international investors like David Rubenstein, Howard Marks, James Anderson, and they really they proved really popular, those webcasts, because it was talking to our investment audience about what was going on in the markets and what opportunities and risks these guys were seeing. So that was the kind of content that we were producing. Now it's kind of calmed down a bit. And now we're looking at beyond COVID. So what does this mean for your sector beyond COVID, or for you as an individual? And then we look at that from all aspects. So sort of future of work, but also sort of the economic impact on the various industries.
Okay. And then you've also been steering some content initiatives to assist economically active citizens to make sense of recent events, such as your Road to Economic Recovery webcast series and the Women Behind the Mask initiative. And perhaps you can this one. Tell us how Investec has responded and how the organization is using content to market and educate the new consumer to help move South Africa forward. Why are these specific conversations important to Investec, and what do you hope to achieve through your marketing efforts?
Thanks, Jessica. I love the way that you talk about them as conversations, because that's really what they are. There was, when we went into lockdown, there was a lot of uncertainty, and people did not know who to look for to give some guidance, some level of assurance. And, I can't say that the bankers know it all. They most certainly don't. We had never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. So I think what helps when you have conversations is that, one, people relate to each other. In other words, they know that they're not the only ones that don't really have a full sense of what to expect. And we found that in the conversations, people were looking for not just reassurance, but some way of learning from each other in terms of how we were each coping in our own various ways. So we started those conversations in the same way that we had started those conversations with our clients. When we went into lockdown, we reached out to all, almost all our clients, if we could get them. And in that started the conversation. So we then extended those conversations into different channels. So we went online, of course, and the webinar series actually arose as a result of a conversation that we were having with our clients in terms of what will recovery look like? And will I survive? And if I survive, what will my organization look like? How will this impact my people? Not just in terms of whether they will have jobs, but mentally. How can I help them go through this when they're thinking about educating their children? How good is their fiber connection, if at all? What happens if we go into load shedding and I don't have power? Will I be able to work? So there were all of these things that people were thinking about and talking about. And we thought, why not we share these widely? And as Ingrid said, there was such a positive reception. People were so keen to engage because I suppose they were asking themselves the same questions, and they wanted to hear from people who potentially may have gone through a crisis or two and knew to keep calm, and knew that perhaps even when you don't have all the answers, day to day, day by day, you make those decisions, you do what is right, and you keep going. So we found that the interest was what kept us going, because it was such, the engagement was overwhelming. We've never seen anything like it. So the road to economic recovery was, and we know it's a long road to economic recovery. So we said, let's engage various stakeholders. Let's talk about what's on their mind, what they're thinking about, what could change, what must they keep. And that's how it evolved. So we then used that lesson to take it to Women's Month. And we talked about what are the conversations that we are having as women, and as women leaders, as women in business, as women in various sectors. And we've seen, again, the same level of interest and engagement. And I think what's different now with content is that people are keen to hear what others are saying, especially if they're trustworthy, if people are being real, they're not just giving you the company line, they're really having an engaged conversation. And more importantly, if they seem to be seeking answers to today's problems. They're not just, this is not theory. We're not, this is not an academic discussion. This is me day to day having conversations like I did today with a lovely lady who is one of our stakeholders, talking about what happens when you have a data breach. What kind of conversations do you have with our clients? So those are the things that we said we would have real conversations. We would talk about what matters to our clients in a way that they feel they can relate to, in a way that is accessible. And, we haven't necessarily worn a marketing lens, we've worn a human lens. And I think that's what's worked. That's really worked well.
And Anne, I think, during the crisis would have been probably the worst time to do a hard product push, because you'd come across completely insensitive and out of touch. And marketing gave us that opportunity to have those conversations and kind of a platform to share ideas.
100%. And in fact, we've hardly talked about any products or services. We've talked about, obviously, clients have come to us looking for all sorts of different types of solutions to suit their business, but that you have on a one-to-one engagement. But, in terms of what our clients are looking for, our clients are looking to help them on a day-to-day cope with what's happening, find insight. And that's what we've been providing, not to sell them on a product or a service. Today, they need some clarity in uncertain times, some assurance that you will walk this road with them. That's what's most important right now.
Okay, that makes sense. And then COVID-19 has certainly fast-tracked digitization. Ingrid, why do you think digital will continue to be a priority and even more so going forward? And comments on the blurring of the lines between brand and media platforms, whereby brands are now becoming publishers and content creators in their own rights. Why do you think this is the case? And what does it mean for brands and media platforms respectively? What is your thinking around it?
Okay, so first on the digitalization, I think obviously COVID's been such an accelerator of so many trends that were already in the background. And I think brands now realize that they just can't afford not to be online. That's where our clients and prospects are spending most of their time. And I think, I mean, it's been coming for a long time, but the amplification that digital can give your content is huge. You know, we used to have these amazing events at Investec where we'd have 200 people come into the building and have a really cool panel or a speaker, but then they go away and it's just those 200 people that are reached. Now we can target sort of hundreds of thousands of people, you know, really carefully and select who we're sending our messaging to. But we can then put that on social media, newsletters, display. You know, there's so many avenues for us to get that content out. So I really think sort of digital content is just going to get bigger and bigger. On the idea of brands becoming publishers, I think that's also gaining a lot of traction in South Africa, especially with the rise of sort of purpose-driven brand, because of content marketing really gives us a platform to talk about, you know, what is our purpose as a company. And as I said with Anne earlier, that, you know, it would have been the worst time to do a hard sort of product push, but content marketing in itself is much more of a long-term gain where you're kind of building trust and loyalty with your clients and prospects. And when they are ready to make that decision about, you know, who do they want to bank with, then we've already built up that relationship with our content. In terms of sort of brands becoming publishers, and a lot of people might say that sort of, you know, we are looking to compete with the media houses. We really aren't, because we've got quite a niche audience, and there's definitely room for collaboration, especially with progressive media outlets who are already sort of looking at ways that we can place sponsored content on their sites, ways we can participate with them on their podcasts. So there's definitely a new revenue stream there for media houses. And then finally, for sort of any corporates that are looking to start a content initiative, there's some incredible journalists out there. We've seen so many amazing titles close down that, you know, there's a really rich base of really talented creative people out there that are looking for new opportunities. So I think there's definitely room for collaboration. I think we are going to see more brands becoming publishers, and you know, it really for us it's a really cost-effective way of marketing. It's not as expensive as a traditional advertising, and it also really enhances our SEO of our site. So by having this really rich content and videos and podcasts on our site, we see our search rankings are really improving, and that helps for all of our product pages as well. And we tightly kind of integrate our editorial content on our product pages. So if you've got an investment page that talks about the products we offer, then we bring in our content there too. So it adds sort of another layer of interest. So if someone's looking at investing, they can find out about the latest trends or from our experts. So it really enriches our marketing offer.
Okay, and then Anne, you touched on this earlier. COVID-19 has also seen many companies revisiting True North, purpose-led objectives, and things like the sharing economy models. Do you think brands should tactically shift to relevant and topical narratives, or should they stick to their True North?
You know, it's a great question, Jessica, and you wonder whether it's a bit of both. But when we talk about purpose, I think, you know, companies that just exist today purely to make profits are long dying. If they're not dead, they're dying. And the reason is because we don't live of society, we live in it. And that's a lovely expression that is well said within the halls at Investec. And the reason is because even in as much as a corporate entity such as Investec or any other exists and hires people and does business with a wide variety of different audiences, markets, the reality is all of the stuff that we do has an impact. It has an impact on society. It has an impact on the environment. We've got to think about those things in the way that we conduct our business. Because if we don't, it's a very short-term view of the world. And somewhere along the way, it will manifest itself in a negative way. So you've got to look broader than just pure profits. And actually, we talk about, I'm sure you've heard about the triple bottom line. In fact, I think now it's a quadruple bottom line. But that aside is that you cannot live in a society today and assume just all you have to do is make a profit. Our stakeholders are are expecting a lot more of us. And in fact, if you think about the millennial generation, the expectation that they have on organizations today is very different than perhaps my generation. Today, people are expecting that a corporate, a good corporate, isn't just a citizen of its own employees. It's a citizen of the world. It's a citizen of that city, of that country, that in every touch point that it has and the decision that it makes does not impact people so negatively that the repercussions are felt for generations to come. And we know that. We're seeing the effects, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's women standing up for equal rights and equal pay and gender balance, all of those things are, systemic stuff that we've never really resolved. And it comes after you. It really doesn't go away. So I think today you've got to think about your purpose broader than just pure profits. And in that, it helps make sure that the conscience of your organization and the conscience of your people, the kind of decisions that you're making are representative, not just about, today, but thinking about what that impact is on the future, and wanting to say that my legacy cannot just be that I was a rich person. My legacy is that when I was given the responsibility of looking after people, after the planet, after the organization itself, I did my best. And that's what we've got to think about. And you know what? It is an always ongoing discussion, because there are times when you're thinking you're having to make compromises. And hopefully you're making compromises that have a positive, lasting impact all the time. Not easy, but that's what you endeavor to do.
And the content really helps bring all of those initiatives to life. So, Investec we invest heavily in various sort of sustainability initiatives. And what we do then is we create content around it. So when COVID hit and we were heavily involved with various food banks, we create articles about food security in South Africa and try and sort of set up the situation and sort of shine a light on it. Same with all of our rhino conservation stuff. We really do try and tell those stories, and content's an amazing platform for that, because it's not enough anymore just to tell people what you do. You have to show them, and it's a visual medium, and we're able to sort of tell the story of what our brand is doing.
Absolutely. And you remember, Ingrid, one of the big consequences of COVID is obviously people were not able to go to work, and as a result were not able to put food on their table. So there's a lot of work happening around with food banks, and Investec was particularly involved, not just in South Africa, in the UK and other markets where we are present. And there was a lot of pride from our own staff, knowing that if they only made a difference to somebody's life, whether it was that they were able to provide a meal for the day, a meal for the week, a meal for the month. And we did create content around that. And it was great to see how people were so willing to get engaged, because they wanted to be seen to be doing the right thing, which is great. And yes, so content manifests itself in so many ways as a motivator for doing the right behavior and as a record of what it is that you did. So absolutely, it was a fabulous initiative. We enjoyed lots of wonderful moments together as a virtual community, contributing to our own communities around South Africa.
That's amazing. So Ingrid, the online media space is increasingly competitive for content creators. And in this content overload era, if you want to call it that, how does Investec cut through the noise to ensure relevant and authentic content that resonates? Or in other words, how do you ensure that you plan, produce, and monetize content to stay relevant and engaging to your prospective audiences?
So whenever we look at a content piece, so all of our articles are very much aligned with our PR and overarching thought leadership strategy. And when we are looking at a piece of content, we look at it through three lenses. The first is, do we have authority to speak about that topic? So obviously, as a bank, we can talk about sort of markets and economy, but as we were just talking about, we also have authority to speak about a lot of issues around sustainability, for example. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it unique? You know, Investec sort of prides itself on being out of the ordinary. Is it a unique perspective or angle, or are we offering clients unique access to this amazing person that they might not get elsewhere? And then the third one is it impactful? So is it really making a difference to our audience's lives? So that's kind of the lens we look at all of our content through. In terms of planning, we've built a really strong content community across the group, which has helped us a lot in terms of collaboration around various projects. So it's not kind of each business is doing their own thing. We really try and work together on a lot of things. And we are working very closely with our PR teams. And I think it really enhances our PR because we're no longer just putting out sort of a boring press release. We're able to give the media like a really meaty editorial piece or access to a really interesting individual. In terms of monetization, content marketing really is a much longer term game than sort of your traditional advertising. And it really is, our aim is to boost traffic to the site, and eventually you'll convert that traffic into sort of quality leads. One of the stats that we are quite proud of is that of people who visit Focus and engage with Focus content, those people are 53% more likely to fill out a lead form on one of our product pages. So it really is building that relationship and that audience. So that's kind of the monetization side of it.
And then lastly, and this is a question for both of you, what are the benefits of content marketing for your organization and business in general? Just in a nutshell, what value does it offer, or how does it deliver a return on investment?
So for us, and I suppose COVID is the most recent experience. So the most important thing for us has been engagement. Reaching out to people, letting them know that you are here, you're willing to help them, you're able to help them. But also, I think content shines a spotlight on what is relevant for our times, what is relevant for us to focus on. So in many ways, our reach of specialist thinkers across the business, we're able to identify what are the key themes, what are the key areas that we need to shine a spotlight on, or what are the things that our clients are really worrying about. And we know it's not just one or two clients, it's quite a number of clients. How do we provide that reassurance to them on a broad level? So those two things really drive what it is that we do and the kind of content that we generate. So engagement and relevance. And I think the business appreciates that they're getting to hear something that has been well considered, is fair and objective, and it's coming from a trusted source. That's, we live in a world today of fake news. You don't really know what to believe when you look at your Twitter feed or you open your Facebook posts. You don't really always know for sure what I'm seeing is the real thing. So we're very conscious about that, and we're very conscious to make sure that when we put out content, we vet it, we expose it to as wide a number of people to make sure that the information that we're putting out there is well considered. The other thing that we're very conscious about is making sure that it's placed on places that we trust. So whether it's our website, whether it's on media posts that we believe, social media posts that we believe in, whether it's our own platforms, we really are very conscious about where we place information. And then I suppose the third thing is that we also think about who it is that we are putting out there. Are they credible? Are they well known? Do they have a point of view? As Ingrid said, we think about, is that point of view out of the ordinary? Is it different? Is it adding value? All of those things we consider before we put out content. So it is, I would say, it's a long-term game. There's content that you put out quite quickly because you have to. It's highly topical. It's breaking news. But a lot of our stuff is well considered. Now we're thinking about what do we want to do in November? What do we want to do in January? So that you can start building up really rich pieces of information that people will value. So that's how I would say it adds value to us, because we find that people are keen to engage with and they're keen to do business with us. That's how we see the value of it.
So it really like adds dynamism and depth to our digital property. So, you know, content marketing enhances all of our communication channels because it gives us stuff to talk about in PR. It really helps us in our internal communications because now we're sharing this kind of these kind of insightful pieces with our staff. It helps with SEO, PR, PPC. It's kind of the, you know, it's fueling all those different channels. So we really are seeing the value in it. And it also gives you a starting point to have a conversation with the client. You know, if you've got a piece of content that's really relevant to their business, it's a great conversation starter to send that to them. So yeah, it's taken about 3 years to get up and running, but we are now seeing the benefits.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think when it comes to content marketing, an analogy that has stuck with me is one that Sarah Browning de Villiers, she's actually the Chief Content Officer at Publicis Machine. She shared with me in an interview on authentic and relevant content marketing. She said, you wouldn't dream of knocking on your neighbor's door and asking them to invest in your business without having first built a relationship with them in a meaningful way, whether that be walking their dog, house sitting for them, lending them milk when they're low. Content marketing is all of that authentic engagement before you reach out to a customer or consumer and ask them to invest or take a costly action. And I think this sums up your sentiments on content marketing and the value it brings to an organization such as Investec and why it's central to brands, marketing and communications. So thank you so much for your time. I'm sure our readers will find your insights very useful in navigating the content marketing space within their organizations or for their brands, and especially, you know, under the current circumstances. So thank you very much.
Thanks Jessica. Thank you for having us.